there's a couple different assessments we can do to see what the return is going to be for deduplication in your environment, what the return is going to be for possibly, looking at a new backup architecture altogether. But like I said, we're going to look for commonalities in your environment. We're going to look at your backup windows, your backup problems, and some of your storage densities, and we're going to come back and figure out your true return. So, to get Matt on your calendar to do that.
Cool. Sounds like you did.
I mean, they're all right. It didn't go as smooth as I wanted to.
I thought you did well.
I thought he did extremely well. I mean,
especially considering your first time.
exactly. He's got. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to, and being able to see the data, the NDMP presentation and going through that. Have you had a chance to even look at that video much, or?
Yeah. So the very first part, was the before slide of an NDP, NGDP, presentation that I saw. So I figured from there, when I built that, if I was really doing a executive level presentation, I could take that and go into a DD presentation, or I can go into an archive presentation, or I can go into a storage presentation. I could take that start and go in a couple different directions, depending on what questions were asked. That was the idea.
Yeah.
So, President numero uno.
It's all right.
No, plus in front of that crowd of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you all know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not a bullshitter, so I can.
You're
What are you
talking.
saying, sir, if we don't know what the hell we're doing?
So
You're talking. I mean, you're in a room full of your peers, and it's always the most difficult audience.
So my past is talking in front of 8 years of talking technology in front of bank executives. I could say whatever I wanted to say.
Right.
They wouldn't know whether I was lying or not. With you guys, I'm sitting here. I see you calling bullshit. You're calling dude. Yeah, it's like, all right.
That's all right. You get. I mean, it
was good.
It's
So
first shot.
there's a lot of
So
people.
did I say anything technically wrong?
Not really. What was the 50 to 121? Tell me about why Avamar has a higher deduplication ratio than data domain.
That's a good question. I don't know.
So, and I think you touched a little bit on the why of source versus target, but I think, so let's talk about that for a sec, right? Is that a good discussion to have? So Avamar, and I was sort of calling you out on the network thing, because that is a big thing, right, with the network bandwidth. The 500 to 1, I don't know if that's the number I'd use.
Yeah.
200 to 1 is pretty safe. That's what we
Either way, it's
see
just a
that,
ridiculous
It's a big
ratio,
number.
right? So, but ultimately, what Avamar is it's a global deduplication solution. You know what that means?
Yeah. I mean, global.
You can sell it in every country in the world. No. Where you get a lot of the ratios there is because what it's looking at is it's looking across the entire spectrum of all the clients that it backs up. And so if you have, and that's why it's such a good fit for remote office, right? And the way that I would talk about remote office, I would almost sort of say for remote office, right? You've got, say, 17 offices, whatever the number is. The big impediment to bringing that in-house, because there's a lot of reasons why you want to bring it in-house, right? You want to bring it in-house for more control. You want to bring it in-house for DR. You want it's more reliable. You don't have a librarian if it's a school system, or an administrative assistant, or someone changing the tapes. There's a lot of opportunity for risk like the banks, the branch office banks, right? So with Avamar, what you get is you finally are able. The big impediment to bringing that in, and this is probably similar to Southern Community, is the bandwidth, right? Is the cost to bring that in-house. I could probably do it overnight for the differentials, but every week when I have to pull that full backup over that T1 line I have from that branch office, it becomes a cost inhibitive. It's prohibitive. It's cost prohibitive, right? Because you say, okay, I'd love to consolidate my backups and have one point of control and eliminate all these tapes and eliminate all these points of missteps along the way, but it's not worth it to spend all this money on bandwidth in order to get that full backup over the wire. Even if it's 500 meg or a terabyte, trying to get that over a really small line, like you know, it's not feasible. So what Avamar does is it delivers on the promise of, I'd love to consolidate all my backups, I'd love to manage them all from one point of control, and I don't want to increase my bandwidth cost at all. So Avamar is the first solution that enabled customers to do that, right? Now I can do everything that I've always wanted with my backups. I can eliminate the reliance on these people and inconsistent infrastructure, and I don't have to increase my bandwidth in order to do it. So that's Avamar, remote office, branch office. It's a no-brainer there. Now you take that same approach and mentality and think about desktops, same kind of thing, right? Now I've got all these desktops all over my environment that I'd love to be able to back up. I'd love to be able to look at all, and in terms of global, what global deduplication means is that if it already got it from this branch office or this desktop here, it's not going to pull it from this one over here, so it sees across the entire spectrum and gets, and that's where you get some of those ratios, right? Again, 50 to 1. Part of it. And the other thing for desktops, and if there was 2 areas every time where you can look at Avamar, and you can even say, okay, Tivoli, NetBackup, whatever it is, we'll put a data domain box behind there. But if you've got remote offices, if you've got desktop backup requirements, keep the Tivoli, keep the NetBackup. But I'm telling you, Mr. Customer, Avamar is going to be the right solution. There's no other solution out there that's going to do what Avamar can do. And the desktops, the reason why it makes a lot of sense is because you get that global dedupe, but you also they don't charge for the client licenses with Avamar. Right? It's all capacity based. So you could have thousands of desktops that in a traditional backup solution you might have to have a client license for each one, or maybe you're remotely doing that online where you're, it's a charge per desktop that you get backed up over the wire. With Avamar, you don't have the client license costs. You can get the global deduplication. So it makes that a more realistic proposition. The cost is usually good, especially if they're backing up